guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry. So today I'm going to show you how I use some of my leftovers from my beautiful smoked Easter ham. I smoked a ham on the big green egg and it just came out phenomenal. That smoky flavor through the whole thing is so delicious. It's hard to stay out of it. So I decided that I was going to make a couple of extra things this week so we can use this up. And the first thing I'm going to do, because it's cold and raining right now, it's supposed to snow here any minute, yay! I decided to make a potato and ham soup. And so I've got carrots, celery, onion, garlic, and you know, depending on how many potatoes, and I've got about 3 pounds of potatoes, so about a cup of each, as far as a little bit more of the onion, and then 4 cloves of garlic. I'm going to chop up ham, and I like big pieces that I can recognize in the soup. Big hearty soup is what I want. And we're going to make this a little bit on the creamy side, maybe a little cheesy. We'll just have to see how we do it. So I hope it brings you along, and I certainly hope that it takes you down into the description box below, where I'll post a couple of links for you. I've got an Amazon link there. I also have down further below, I've got my mailing address, as well as my Zaycom Foods link, where you can go sign up for free, and they'll notify you of an event in your area where you can save a lot of money on bulk meats. And I just purchased 40 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast, and it's delicious. So we're going to get the rest of this ham chopped up, and then I'll meet you at the stove, because we're going to saute these vegetables off and get them a little translucent before we start the rest of this. I've already prepared my potatoes. I've peeled them. I'm using russet potatoes, and like I said, about 3 pounds of potatoes. So we'll be able to eat this up in a couple of days. My husband can take it for lunch, and maybe I can treat the girls at work for lunch. All right, so let's get to making it. So in my pan, I have some olive oil and some butter, and the pan is really hot. Turn that down to about a medium, and we're just going to go ahead and saute our vegetables a little bit, soften them up. And I'm not going to put the garlic in until I'm just about ready to add my stock and potatoes, because I don't want my garlic to burn. There's my diced onion, and at the end I will add some fresh herbs too, because I think it just adds just a great, you know, flavor to it. So we're just going to saute these down until they're translucent, and I add my salt and pepper right now. Here's some freshly ground pepper, about a teaspoon, and about half a teaspoon of salt. I'm using a combination of organic chicken stock that I've got about a half a box here, so maybe 16 ounces, and then my chicken bone broth that I made. And if you guys would like to see that video, I'll have that up on the right hand side of your screen. If you're looking at that, there'll be a little circle. If you hover over it, it'll take you right to that video if you want to watch that right after this is done. Bone broth is so good for you, so I try to cook with it whenever possible. And a few of you commented on how much stock I made between the 2 bone broths and stock that I make, but I go through it just as fast as I make it. This is the last quart out of the 7 quarts that I did. So, and I take that back. This is turkey bone broth, but it tastes, you know, between chicken and turkey, it's really not that big a difference. You could even use beef in here if you wanted, or a ham stock base. I do have some of that, but I think we're going to reserve the right to have it just like this. So we'll saute these down, and when I'm ready to add the garlic and my stock. So guys, my vegetables have had time to just really slowly release and start slumping, and my onions are real translucent right now, so I'm ready to go ahead and add the garlic. And I've got that on my little scooper. And then we're ready to add our chicken stock, or turkey stock. I keep calling it chicken, but it's turkey. And potatoes. So I like soak my potatoes, and I've soaked, rinsed, drained, soaked, rinsed, and drained twice, so it gets a lot of the starch out. The starch is great, but you know, I don't want it too overly starchy. So put those in, and I'm thinking I have the perfect size pot. This is a 4-quart, I believe. I'm just going to toss that about, and then we're going to add our stock. So we'll add the rest of this. This is chicken. And like I said, you could make a ham base if you wanted. And this is my nice seal. And this is very concentrated, so if I need to add extra water, I will, but I don't think I'm going to. I think it's going to be perfect. It looks perfect right now. Maybe a little bit, just to bring it up, because we need room for the ham and the herbs at the end. The herbs won't take up much room, but the ham will, because I'm going to be generous with the ham. And at this point, I want to infuse with a little background of heat, so I'm going to put, a healthy teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And we're going to let this simmer on low. I don't need to rush this. You could rush this and have this soup ready in a half hour, but we're not going to do that. I want to simmer this. I want the smells of everything to be through the house, and I want the vegetables nice and tender, so I'm not going to do that. About halfway through, then I'll add the ham, and that will add some more flavor to it as well. So we're going to put the lid on this, and I'll bring you back. So my soup has been simmering now for a little over an hour, and I've got it down on low. The potatoes are tender, and what I like to do at this point is go ahead and mash them up a little bit. And when I was grabbing the ham out of the refrigerator, I realized that I had leftover creamed peas, and these are cheesy creamed peas that we had with our Easter dinner. And I'm going to put this in there. It's a great way to use up another leftover, and it'll kind of cream up this soup a little bit. So we're going to use that. But first I want to go ahead and put a little bit of a mash. I don't want to puree these potatoes because I still want some integrity and chunks in there, but I want to mash it up a little bit. We like it not creamed necessarily, or pureed, I should say, rustic. A rustic smash. Let's give it a, and we'll go ahead and add our peas in before I put the ham in. And this is about a cup of creamed peas. You certainly could do without this, but I know it's delicious because I've done this a couple years ago. It's a really pretty color, a little bright green pop here and there, which is really, I think, just exactly what the soup needed. So now we're going to add our ham. And in Linda's fashion, whatever size pot I start with, I fill it. So thankfully, I didn't start with the big 22-quart pot. I could have made that. Okay. So I'm not going to add all of it at once. I want to add it a little bit at a time and see where we're at, because I'm limited on space now. But you really, in a bowl, you really only need a couple, 2-3 chunks of ham. It's pretty satisfying. I think I might get it all in there. Let me see. I'm going to stir it again. See what it looks like. And I think that's really perfect. There's plenty of ham and potatoes. Oh, it looks delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and let this simmer now for another hour, and it should be dinner time. And we're going to have this with some English muffin toast. I made some English muffin bread in my cast iron skillet, thanks to Aunt Debbie. Hopefully she sees this, because she inspired me. I stopped everything and made bread because of her videos. So anyway, that being said, this will go back in the refrigerator. This will simmer on the stove for another hour, and we'll have dinner, and I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. So here's our beautiful soup, and this is just gorgeous with all the ham chunks and peas and carrots, onions. And I'm still not ready to add my cream. Right now I'm going to add some cheese. I've got a Mexican cheese blend that I want to melt in here. And that's about, we'll say, probably 3/4 of a cup of that. And I've cubed up some jack cheese. That's another 1/2 cup of jack cheese. And we'll just cube that up. And this is going to have time to melt. It's still not dinner time. But I do want to go ahead and add my herbs. I've got some fresh parsley out of the garden, about a healthy 1/4 of a cup to 1/3 of a cup, and the same with fresh chives out of the garden. I love springtime, even though it's trying to snow outside. That way these herbs can lend their flavor and make this soup just absolutely delicious. And then when we come back the next time, we're going to finish it off with some heavy cream. And that's going to make it luscious. So we're going to finish this soup off. And because I still feel it's a little soupy, I added 2 tablespoons, maybe 3, of all-purpose flour and a little bit of cold water and my heavy cream. And we're going to get that right in the pan. And bring it back up to a simmer, and that will thicken up and be just perfect. I don't want it too thick. My husband likes thicker soups opposed to soupy soups, and I like them any way I can get them. So this looks absolutely fantastic. Okay guys, I'm gonna let this come up and thicken. And okay guys, so I'm ready to taste the soup, and it is absolutely beautiful. I hope you can see that. I'm going to have pictures at the end. You can see the end shot. I've got 2 pieces of toasted English muffin bread. I made this bread in my Lodge cast iron loaf pans. Those are the only loaf pans I use, and it is phenomenal. So if you want to see that recipe, it's super easy. I mean, it went together in a snap, and it's delicious. So that's what we made for the soup tonight. And ooh, it's got carrots and ham and potatoes, and it's still screaming hot. I topped it with some chives, so I want a piece of that smoked ham and a piece of potato. And it looks creamy and delicious. Very inviting. So cold outside right now, I can't even tell you. Oh my gosh, that is so good. And that smoky flavor from the ham just sings in this. So if you've got leftover ham that maybe even you smoked, ooh, this is something you should do. Absolutely delicious. So good. I love all the things that went into this. I utilized a bunch of leftovers and things that I needed to use up, like the potatoes and carrots. So I hope it inspires you to maybe try this soup, or try utilizing what you've got in the refrigerator and put together a delicious meal from leftovers. Nobody's ever gonna know that this was from leftovers or things that needed to be used up in the refrigerator. So I hope you'll go down and check out all the links that I've left for you in my Zaycon Foods. Go please say hi on Facebook and leave me a comment below on what you'd like to see next, or if you'd like to see that bread. I'll try to put that on the list.